Hello, good people. Welcome to our show. Hello, bad people. Welcome to our show. Hello, welcome. Today we are going to discuss more about marketing and sales. We are going to touch topics about the future because it's important today to adapt fast. Technologies are growing fast. We need to consider because if you can't adapt fast, then your competitors can replace you. And we can see today when marketers and salespeople can lose their jobs, like after ChatGPT launched, 5% of marketers lost their jobs because of someone who can adapt to these tools, AI tools, much faster than others, can provide better results. It's not because tools can replace them, because people can adapt faster to these tools to get great results. So we are going to discuss a lot more about marketing, sales, about the future with Lilach Bullock. How are you?
Hi, thank you. I'm great. Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, a big pleasure. Wanna learn more. Lilach, before we start, just tell more about yourself, experience, background, and why you pay attention to two topics, sales and marketing.
Okay, so I'm Lilach Bullock. I'm originally from the UK. I moved to Israel 5 years ago, and I've been an entrepreneur and a business owner for nearly 20 years. My background is digital marketing, content, sales, and lead gen, and I've built and run agencies. I've also a professional speaker, and I love everything to do with business. Yes, it's in my DNA, I think. And I'm trying to recall your last question. Remind me the last question that you asked me. Sorry.
Why you pay attention to sales and marketing? Because it's like separate niches, but I think it's important to have the background. For example, I usually get great results with marketers who have sales background because they care more about getting sales than to engagement, traffic, and something like this. So why you cover both marketing and sales?
So I think, you can't generate sales without either. And ultimately, we're in business to make sales. And I think marketing is often the easy route. People love to market, people hate to sell. And I think it's so important to be able to sell. I think everyone should be able to do it and constantly be improving. And they work very nicely together. They complement one another. And it's like a jigsaw. When you don't have one piece, then the whole thing falls apart. So you need to have both. And I think, particularly with a lot of entrepreneurs, they can get sidetracked and focus too much effort and time and resources on marketing and not enough on sales. And often that's fear as well as a lack of skill set and strategy and expertise as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think, if you create a marketing strategy, you need to think about monetization, about sales, because even if I get a million traffic, I'm not sure that I can get a lot of sales with that. For me, it's better to get less, but quality traffic that will sell products to
Well,
generate leads. So I want to start from marketing strategy and think about sales in the end. Can you tell how to do it? Because marketing is huge, and I see when companies implement generic strategies, nothing special. In most cases, they analyze competitors, can see how they get traffic, sales, and replicate them. But I usually tell them, don't do it because if your competitors are successful with something, it doesn't mean we can, because competitors implement their strong side. They are good with something, but you can find something that they ignore and more related to your strong side. So, Lila, can you tell why companies chase generic strategies and your methods how to create the right strategy for marketing and sales?
so first of all, you said something very interesting, and I'd just like to address, and that is that, a lot of competitors spy on other competitors and they think, well, if they're doing X, then it must work, so I should copy it and do it. And that's the biggest problem and the biggest myth online, is that the majority of people are copying each other without knowing what the actual results of that company is getting. And I think that's probably the biggest problem, is that well, if X is doing it, then we should do it. For example, I've done a lot of exhibitions in the past. And as an influencer, I've been to a lot and spoken at these events as well. And also I've exhibited for my companies too. And I've been very fortunate that I haven't had to pay to exhibit because it would be part of my influencer deal or whatever. But I've spoken to so many exhibitors, and so many of them, when you ask them, what's the ROI that you get from this? Many don't know, and many admit, you know what, we just have to be here because our competitors are here. So if we're not here, then they're going to hog it all. And it just highlights that a lot of people follow. People are like sheep, and it's very hard to break that mold, to be bold, to do different things. So the biggest part of advice I would have is always stay one step ahead of your competitors. It's really good to understand what they're doing, but you have to remember that you don't see behind the scenes. You don't know
of course.
the resources that went into it, how much time, how much money. You don't know at what point they started, who they're already connected with. There's so many variables that you're not aware of. So when you're looking at strategies and trying to generate more sales, don't just focus on what your competitors are doing. Try and really understand your target audience, really get inside their mind, what turns them on, and more importantly, what turns them off, so that you can really resonate with them and speak their language. And in terms of strategies, that's kind of an open question because it really depends on the business, who they're targeting, and every business is so different. And I think also sales, again, sales is a really long funnel, and every business will be dictated by how long their funnel is. I mean, if you're selling $100,000 product, it could take 6 months to 12 months to convert. Whereas if you're selling something cheaper or a huge volume, then the lead and the conversion time is very different as well. And obviously, the longer the funnel, then the more breaks and the more problems that can occur as well. So that's something else which needs to be factored in.
Yeah, nice. I love it that you mentioned about we don't see what happens behind the scene. For example, let's imagine big influencers like Mr. Beast. He spent like many years to craft and his skills to film videos. And when he started, he got like first 1,000 subscribers after 18 months. So he filmed a lot. He improved experience, craft his content, and today everyone knows Mr. Beast. And if I see these videos, probably I can feel, yeah, I can do the same, but you can, but you need to get this experience, acquire.
That's a really good point, and there's lots of things. Let's take Mr. B. So first of all, he's in a very different niche. If you're in a B2B niche, that's the hardest niche, and that's also dictated by ads, because the ads for a B2B versus B2C are totally different and much less. So if you're in the B2B space, then it's much harder to gain that traction. So you've got to look at the niche as well, because that's a massive factor, and also the timing. And I would guarantee, and I'd put money on it, that if he was starting out today with absolutely zero, he would never ever be able to duplicate the success that he has achieved. And that's simply because of timing. The market today is incredibly saturated, incredibly competitive. I mean, I've been around for nearly 20 years in business, and it was so easy. I mean, I can remember years ago, I would put out a free ebook on traffic generation. I remember when I did it, and literally, I didn't even have to promote it at all. And I would get 100, downloads a day from doing absolutely nothing. I couldn't do that today. And I think, I really empathize and feel so sorry for people who are starting out today or have started out in the last year, 18 months, because people make out that it's so easy. People, are sharing all these stats and then other people are thinking, well, I don't have that. And it just perpetuates the whole system, the whole mindset. And I think timing is one of the most important things in business. And you can take so many businesses who just wouldn't achieve the success that they have today. And I've consulted and mentored and done a lot of marketing for some really big enterprise companies. And I'm always shocked at their marketing. And the reality is that if they didn't already have a recognized brand, they wouldn't be able to achieve any of the results that they have online because they're relying on already being known. So when you're not known and when you have limited resources, it's very hard to break out. And I think the ones that do that successfully over the last year, 18 months and going forwards, they're the businesses, they're the ones that we need to look at. How have they achieved it in such a saturated and competitive marketplace with zero online presence and zero network?
Lila, I can't agree, really. And let me explain why. It doesn't mean that I'm right. If I disagree, it doesn't mean that I'm right, but I have my point. I think,
Go for it.
let me share my thoughts about that. Of course, it's tough. It's extremely tough today to start from scratch. Extremely tough. It's not like when internet appeared, when social media appeared. Of course, that was simple in that time. But I think today a lot of opportunities because of AI, and someone who can adapt to AI can win the market because many companies still ignore this tool or don't take it seriously. And for example, we help a lot in trading investing niches and compete with big brands, $1 billion companies, big companies. Of course, we didn't achieve $1 billion, but from period like less than 12 months, I think we cooperate with some projects 10 months, we got like from 0 to 2,000 people a day in extremely competitive niche with organic reach, SEO, because we use AI. So we see that companies still ignore it, but we use it. I mean, like, if
Can I
you
ask you a question? Sorry, I just want to dive into your numbers. So 2,000 people a day, what, followers, or what are you talking about?
SEO traffic, organic reach from Google. So
okay. So I'm not talking about traffic or engagement, because engagement can be gained. It's so easy to get likes and comments and things like that. It doesn't mean, I've always said, it's your lurkers that buy. It's not your followers, and you can buy anything online today. And I'm not suggesting that you bought these, what I'm saying is gaining followers and likes and engagement doesn't equal sales. And that's the fundamental difference. And it's harder today to generate sales online for somebody who's brand new with zero audience. And I think that's what I'm trying to get across. And I'm sorry if that didn't come across correctly. And I'm not diminishing what you've achieved, because I think that's brilliant. But what I'm saying is that if we're talking about sales, real tangible sales, cash, money in the pocket on a consistent basis, it's much harder to do today than it was a few years ago. But there are also many opportunities, and I think that's great. But I just have to acknowledge that timing is very, very important. And I'm very open and honest. And I have always said that I could never duplicate the success that I've achieved today. If I was start out today, it would be impossible.
I think anything is possible. I think anything
You're
is
very
possible.
optimistic. I want to be realistic.
Including social media, even if you start from scratch. And for me, it's important to focus, to pay attention to specific channels, and to search for marketing gap, lack of quality content, where you can fill this gap. And today, I think it's not a good idea to chase the number of followers, subscribers. It's not a good idea because social media can recognize what content you like. And I see when some accounts have million followers but low engagement, some accounts that have minimum amount of followers, subscribers, but high engagement. And I think because social media can recognize what users really want to get. For example, if I subscribe to Mr. Beast and can watch Mr. Beast, that's okay. Then YouTube will share his content. But if I subscribe to some channels and don't watch at all these videos, YouTube will never recommend me these channels. I can see them in my recommendations, but I often see in recommendations videos that from channels that I never subscribe, but I see them because Google knows what I want to get. It's the same with TikTok. When I scroll TikTok, I move with my fingers so fast, and I often get videos from I don't know these people, I don't know these channels, but
yeah, I mean, I think that's a really valid point, but I think you need to have both. And I think, numbers do matter in terms of, it really depends what your business model is. Look, if you're selling advertising space and, the amount of subscribers, then obviously it's very important. And I think we have to recognize that if you're an influencer, then the amount of subscribers you have is very, very important. If you're trying to raise investment, then the number of followers you have and the number of whatever traffic, etc., is important. So it really does depend. And I think it's really important to have a balance of both, because also the amount of followers you have, etc., builds trust and credibility. I'm not saying it should be this way, and I'm not saying it should matter, but realistically, it does matter, and we can't ignore that fact. But it's very interesting. You don't have to be subscribed to be able to view something. And also, just because I watch a video doesn't mean I'm going to buy. I mean, I spend hours watching videos every day, and I've never bought from one of them, not one. So that's when the whole, as what we were speaking about when we first started the chat, was marketing versus sales. And there's a lot of marketing and not enough sales.
You remind me of this quote, the best time was 20 years ago. Today is the second best time. So
I like that quote. Look, I'm not knocking it. And I think, for some niches and some industries, some sectors, today is incredible, but I think it's fair. And I want to give people this, we compare ourselves. We look at others and we think, well, they're so successful. I'm doing what they're doing. I'm posting every day. Why am I not getting these results, etc.? And I think, we have to be honest about this. And there's so much, I don't want to swear on your show, but there's so much BS online. And I think we have to rip it apart and look at the realities. And there's the most amazing TED talk about what makes a business successful. And one of the number one things is timing. And I've worked with so many businesses from all sorts of shapes, sizes, all over the world. And one of the key reasons that they've been successful is timing. If they were to do the same thing today, they just wouldn't gain the traction that they did back then.
Yeah, for me, I agree about timing. I think patience is very important when you are patient with results, and most people give up according to data. For example, I checked some data about podcasts that most new podcasters don't record more than 8 episodes because they can't get results from first 7 episodes. I have no idea how to do it. That is why I have plus 700 episodes, to recognize how I can do it. And
wow. Yeah, look, people give up. And that's the reason why people give up is because they're reading and learning online and everyone's saying how easy it is and do this in X amount of time. They're surpassing that time. They're getting nowhere near the results. And so they give up. But the reality is, you need a lot of perseverance. You need a lot of grit. and consistency. There's lots of things that you need. And I think that's what sales is. The number one strategy in sales, I believe, is to ask. If you don't ask, you don't get. Ask for the sale. People are so scared to ask for the sale. People are so scared to ask for a referral and scared to sell, in their content or whatever. And I think that's the biggest strategy, is to actually just bloody sell, just to do it.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, I agree. And about I want to ask more about content strategy, because you mentioned a lot that engagement and traffic doesn't mean to get sales. And can you tell how then to create this content plan for content marketing that covers sales funnel, buying journey? Because I agree, sometimes I can get and I remember I got like 300,000 views on the LinkedIn post, not bad, but I didn't get any sales. It doesn't mean that you can sell with all posts, and it's important to consider buying persona. For me, it's better to get 100 views and to get a few sales than to get a million views without any sales. So because sales are fuel of my business. So tell how to combine this content plan, because today it's important to bring value. It's important to educate or entertain your audience. It depends on your audience, but we need to submit this call to action. We need to sell our products, and how to do it right. So if topics are related to the products, but we don't know if sharing value on these topics will sell your product. So any tips about that?
Yeah, so first of all, I mean, congrats on getting that amount of views. That's incredible. And it just highlights that, it doesn't equal sales. And I think that's the key thing here. In my experience, like if we're looking at something like LinkedIn, for example, where the sales typically happen is not on your wall. It's in the inbox. It's in building and nurturing the relationships and having conversations and often taking things off of LinkedIn onto having calls and things like that. So I think that's really, really key and very, very important. And often I always say, when you create content for your lurkers. Don't create content for engagement, because the people who engage typically aren't your buyers. It's very rare that I've had people who commented on my post and then message me and say, "Oh, I love this. I really want to buy." If only it was that simple. And I used to get that, and that just shows you how things have changed so much. And I'm a great believer in the 80-20 rule when it comes to content, which is 80% value and then 20% selling. And I think when it comes to content, it really is ultimately about knowing your audience and also about being consistent. So if you have really high intentions of posting every day and then you're struggling to come up with really great value content rather than just filler, fluffy content, then take it back and only create the amount of content that you have the resources to do on a consistent weekly, monthly, daily basis, etc. So I think that's really, really important. And content, like everything in business, is about testing and measuring and tweaking and improving. So you have to understand, what does your audience love? But also what actually converts. And I'll give you a very random example. Everybody hates pop-ups on websites. I shut them down. I sometimes exit. Nobody likes pop-ups. It's a very common thing. They're very annoying. They're frustrating. However, when I've tested it, and I've worked with many companies as well, and we've tested it intensely. And in terms of where you position them and the messaging on them and what the actual thing that you're giving away, for them to give away their email address and things like that. And when you turn off the pop-up, you get less results. So I think you have to, with content marketing, you've got to have that sales in there as well. You've got to think, well, what's going to convert? Because everything we're doing has to be conversion. And we can have different types of what we want to convert. So it could be that we want that piece of content to convert into a sale. We could be wanting to convert into a lead or into an email, or it could just simply be we want them to like, or it could be that we want them to leave a comment. So we have to decide, well, what do we want? What's the action that we want people to take from this piece of content? And then we need to work out, well, how are we going to get people to convert and things like that? What types of content perform best? Do people prefer video, or do they switch off? Do they prefer imagery, plain text? You know, what does our audience love? And this is where the lines get very blurred, particularly on social media, because we're so used to writing and posting so that we get likes, because we all want to be liked and to have that engagement. And we have to get that balance between creating content that perhaps doesn't necessarily create as much engagement, but actually will generate more action or the conversion that we want. So I think that's really, really important. And it really is about testing and seeing what resonates more with our audience. If you're creating webinars, you know, what's the sales funnel like? How many emails do we need in order to follow up? What content do we have to follow up? What content do we have on our website? I mean, it really is a huge part of it when it comes to content, and there's lots of moving parts to it. And also it's the language we use when it comes to content, you know, what resonates, you know, what turns them on and off, what's the sentiment when they're viewing the content, how memorable is the content, how does it differentiate, how bland is it? There's so many moving parts to it, and you have to be prepared to take risks when it comes to content, because otherwise you can't test, because you're always doing the same thing. So I think that's really important as well.
Yeah, nice. I wanna ask about this rule. It's like Pareto principle, 80-20. And you mentioned that you believe in this rule. I think it's a good idea. And can you tell how to use this rule? I mean, like, you create 80% of content marketing posts and 20% sales posts, or you combine in one post. I mean, like 80% of information, sharing value, educate audience, and submit call to action to this post. So tell more about how to use this.
So first of all, it really depends on the business. So for me, my goal when I use LinkedIn or any social platform is to drive traffic to my website. That's all I care about. I don't, you know, so for me, my goals are totally different. I'm actually not selling anything. If I am launching something, or let's say I'm launching a program, or I have an actual offer, then I change my whole strategy, and then it becomes much more salesy. And I think that goes with everybody. And that's why having a content calendar is so important, because if you've got a launch, let's say you're doing an event or a webinar, whatever, your content around that period is going to be very, very different and likely to be much more salesy. And it's kind of working out, well, how many posts can I do which is salesy, and then the value, etc. And I think that's where people get afraid to sell. And it's very interesting. And also people get afraid to sell because they're worried they're going to get crickets. You know, they're used to lots of engagement on their posts, and then when they try to sell, they get nothing, because people are too scared to like and engage, because they're worried that someone's going to send them a message and say, oh, thank you for liking and commenting, here's more information, even though they didn't ask for more information. They were just liking it to be supportive or whatever. So I think, you know, that all comes under it. I mean, everyone says, you know, on average it's 80-20%, but really you have to give huge value. And I think this is the problem now. I would say that 95% of the content I read on LinkedIn is of no value whatsoever. And I think that's the problem. You know, if you're going to write content, make it worthwhile, make it highly valuable. You know, there's so much fluff and BS. And I think part of the problem is that we now have to create so much content, because there's just so much content online now. We have to do so much so consistently, which also doesn't help with that. But ultimately, you want to give as much value as possible on an 80%, and then stick in some more salesy posts in between.
Okay, I got it. I wanna ask some questions about AI. It's tough to ignore this topic. I get a lot of questions about that. We create tools with AI. We increased our results with AI. So some projects really, yeah, we got great results because of using AI to increase our speed, even quality. I know that many people, content creators, complain it's not quality, it's like rewriting tool. Yeah, of course it's a rewriting tool, but if you use it smart, you can get quality as well. I want to ask you how you use AI today to increase results, to get more sales and improve results in marketing.
Yeah, so it's very interesting because it does make me laugh, because everyone says, oh, don't use AI to write. And then you can see they've written it using AI. You know, the more you use it, you recognize the messaging, the wording, things like that. And I just also want to address, you know, when ChatGPT first came out, I think it was like a year ago now, there was so much panic and worry. And even I was concerned, because I also offer content writing services, and I was panicking, thinking, oh my God, you know, it's gone crazy. But I think what we've seen is that there's so many AI tools now on the marketplace. Literally every day there's hundreds of new ones popping up. And what they've actually done is they've saturated the marketplace, and they've overwhelmed everyone. So they've slowed down the growth, because I think that we would have seen the way that it's gone, I think it's totally slowed everything down. And I think we'd be looking at a very different place today had it not been so saturated. So I'm very grateful that it's turned out this way. But so how do I use AI? I use it all the time. Anything and everything. I use it a lot for accounting, actually, which I didn't think I would do. I find that very, very helpful. I use it to help with tricky emails. So long things, organizing. You know, I can just put things in and it will organize it, and then I can copy and paste, which I find really helpful. I use it for SEO as well, for keywords and researching things. I've used it to write some content. I must admit, sometimes I have to edit it quite a lot. But I'm very lucky because it recognizes my voice as well, because I've got a really large online profile and lots of content online. I can say, write it in Lilach Bullock style, and it recognizes that. So that's brilliant for me as well. So that's really helpful. I'm trying to think what else I use it for.
You share a big list too.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love it. It's great. I've used it for recipes. I mean, I've used it for personal stuff. I've used it for some snippet blog posts, you know, for SEO, like really short, 300, 500 words, things like that, because I don't care about it, because it's for SEO. I tell you one thing I do, and I feel terrible admitting this, but I'm going to. This is how honest I am. I can't think what the plugin is, but I'm not a fan of watching videos. So I like to skim. So I have used it. There's a plugin where you can put on YouTube and you can see the translation. So then I can skim it through. And I find that really helpful.
Yeah, nice. I'm not a big fan to watch videos as well. For me, you know, because I can scan articles. If I take a new article, I can scan. I can find bullet points. I can find something that it's important for me. But to watch videos, it's tough to scan. You know, it's tough to.
Oh, I tell you what else I use it for as well, which I love, is like when you have a Zoom or Google Meet call, and it can summarize the call as well. So that's super handy, and it means then I can just take that and send a very quick follow-up email, and also I've got a record of it. So I find that brilliant. I must admit, I don't use it much for imagery. I've experimented, but I just found it's just not strong enough for me, and it's just easier for me to do myself.
Yeah, about pictures, yeah, I agree. But I tested on BART to draw infographics. So if you feed BART with data, you can ask to draw infographic, and it takes time if you use other tools, but Bart can recognize data and do
Oh,
it.
that's interesting. That's good to know.
Yeah, you can test it. I
Yeah.
tested it works. So yeah,
Have you tried ChatGPT's imagery as well? That's a bit rubbish.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think yeah, it depends of the goals. It doesn't work in most cases. Even when you use generic prompts, you can feel it. You can feel
Yeah.
smell this writing style.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I have I'll tell you what else I've done actually, which I found really handy because I create all my imagery on Canva. So I've uploaded blog content or a LinkedIn post I've written and said, "Oh, I need to create an image for it. Can you give me some inspiration of what to do?" And so that I found really helpful. And then I'll go on Canva and find things. But yeah, no, I mean, I think AI, I don't know, I have mixed emotions about it. The same as I have for social media. I think I'm not a fan of social media anymore. I think it does more damage than good right now. And we will probably see that with AI eventually. Right now, I'm seeing a lot of good, but let's see what happens in the future.
Yeah, we'll see. Um, I think yeah. By the way, I like LinkedIn. It's not like on Twitter or other social media. On LinkedIn, it's more business oriented, and I don't see a lot of hate, a
Well,
lot
I'm
of.
seeing a lot of personal stuff now on LinkedIn. You know, people are taking photos of themselves, and it's it's. I just think it's a game. People gamify it. You know, it's a very reciprocal game. You know, people liking, commenting in order to get likes and comments back. I just think it's a load of BS, to be quite honest. It's just a back and forward game. I think the magic happens and the real stuff happens behind, you know, in messaging people and being targeted outreach and building those relationships. But I think the actual liking and commenting and posting content online, I think it's a bit of a game now. That's just my personal take.
Yeah.
You
Uh,
know, really.
yeah, I like commenting because it works well for me. When I comment, you can build relationships, you can get more loyal audience who are interested with your commenting. But yeah, it depends. For example, Seth Godin shares that he stopped reading reviews and comments about his books on Amazon since 2011. So because he doesn't want to know that someone hates
Yeah,
his books.
no, I can believe that. Yeah, totally. I mean, look, I think when I comment, I try to find things that I can actually have a discussion about or disagree, because then it's an actual conversation. When you're commenting, say, "Oh, I totally agree with this. Wonderful." There's no value there because everyone's just agreeing, everyone's saying the same thing. And I find that boring and it just doesn't get results. That's what everyone else is doing. So I like to do what everyone else isn't doing. If I can go on a post where I disagree and I leave my comment, I know I'm going to get lurkers who will then private message me and say, "Oh my goodness, I totally agree with you. Thanks for having the courage to say that." Or it will have more back and forwards, you know, in the engagement side. So for me, I found that that's more beneficial in terms of ROI. I'm very ROI focused.
Yeah, yeah. I wanna ask about the future. We discussed a lot about present. It's not like future, but our main topic about future of marketing and sales. Many things are coming. Apple is going to launch headset, augmented reality. I know Ray-Ban did it with Meta to launch these sunglasses where you can check, I don't know, almost everything in your by using these sunglasses. So I think this gadgets can impact our sales decisions, something like this. If people can use sunglasses, can you forecast what kind of future will be in marketing and sales, and how we can adapt to this possible future?
So yeah, I mean, look, there's always these gadgets and things coming up. I remember when, you know, the whole smart watches were coming out and everyone was going to use them all. And Most people don't, they find them a distraction. It's disturbing them all the time. I maybe I'm old-fashioned and old school, but I feel that everyone is very overwhelmed right now with all the technology and all the tools out there. And I think people are going a bit old school, and they're trying to limit it and only work with a certain amount of ones, which really, really help them. So I think more and more companies will be using AI, but I think, they're only going to focus on a handful of tools. Social media, I think we're starting to become much more targeted. People are becoming more niche focused and building more relationships. I also see things becoming more offline as well, because it's easier to build relationships. I'm not sure how that will work with the world being, so global. I think video is becoming very, very popular, and short form content, which just highlights the fact that people won't, like, I will watch so many videos, but I love all these reels because they're addictive. You just watch them again and again and again. The problem with them is they're really hard to convert. I've watched some reels for these silly Amazon products, must have, they're so bloody addictive, right? I'll just scroll through it. Oh, I must have that. I can't find them again because they've just gone so quick. I don't know how they convert so well at all. But from an engagement and from a views perspective, I think they're great. So I think we're going to see a lot more short form content. I think things are going to go round in circles. I think we're going to see a lot more SEO and ways to drive traffic. And I think next year we're going to see a lot of people making big decisions whether to continue their businesses or to get jobs as well. I think, the whole COVID and also, this AI, and a lot of content writers are nervous, and the market is tough right now. I really feel for people. It's a hard time for many, and others are, having an incredible year. I think we're going to start to see a lot more honesty online as well. I think people are starting to be a lot more transparent. And I think we'll also start to see a lot more case studies, because people love case studies. And right now that's not so saturated, but I think there'll be a lot more case studies as well.
Yeah. By the way, about short videos, how to convert, and I know some great examples how content creators do it. Productive with that. For example, I remember one video. So let me share the story. You can understand how it works.
Yeah.
So basically, Lloyd Richards published a book 11 years ago, and he spent so much time with marketing, sales to promote this book. Nothing worked. And that was interesting about the story, that he spent 16 years to write a single book. It's more than a decade, 16 years. For me, it's tough to imagine how to spend 16 years to write a single book.
Yeah.
Then he published this book, and nobody cared about this book. So he spent some resources, marketing, sales, nothing back. Then his daughter posted content on TikTok from account with 0 followers. And this video became viral. Plus 50 million people, including one view from me, watched this video. And today this book is bestseller on Amazon. One single video beats a lot of marketing and sales methods. And when I watched this video, I found it's not nice looking design, nothing special, but it's a short story. Real short story that provokes curiosity. I watched this video and wow, what kind of book is this? If author spent 16 years to write this book, I want to read it. I'm interested, yeah, a short video, less than a minute.
That's something. So I love that case study, and that's something. Was it a consumer book or a business book? What type of book was it?
No, consumer book, not business book. Just
Okay, so
consumer book.
consumer's totally different to B2B. You can't compare the two. Like things go so much more viral when it's consumer. And I think also, I mean, that's a brilliant case study. But if we were to look at how many views was it? 1 million views?
Plus 50 million.
Which
50.
is an incredible, humongous amount. And I would love to know how many actually sales it got so that we could understand the conversion
I
rate.
don't know about sales, but I know today this book is bestseller on Amazon. So you can search on Google
Yeah.
Lloyd Richards. I don't remember the name of book. Yeah, it's famous story. Many big publications share the story. Yeah, let me find the link because
Yeah. No, look, I think it's brilliant. I'm not knocking it. I guess I just think that it's interesting to see how many actual sales it generated.
yeah.
So the amount of views, like how much percent.
Yeah, I found on Amazon. Let me share my screen. Just share screen. How to do it right? Yeah, this book. And
Does it say how many reviews it's had?
I don't know. We have ratings. I don't know if Amazon can share such data. How many people bought this
It's
book?
got 8,000 views. Is that ratings? How many ratings? 8. My eyesight's terrible. I can't see. How many does it say?
8,000 people left reviews of this book.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean like, but I don't see how many sales. I just
Yeah.
see.
So if it's got 8,000 reviews, then it could be. How many views did it have? The video? Did you say?
50 million.
Okay, so let's say, see, this is the whole ROI and conversion geek in me. Let's say 1 in 3 people left a review. That's 30,000 out of 50 million.
Yeah, let me find this video.
Which just goes back to what we were discussing earlier, that views and engagement and likes doesn't equal sales at all.
Yeah, of course. Oh.
But I mean, those are incredible numbers, and it just highlights that short video on TikTok, what it can achieve. But I think we have to remember that so many of these videos we watch and then we scroll past and we scroll past. And often it's only when we see a video, many, many times do we actually think, oh, you know what? The signs are telling me to buy it. But that's also a low ticket item, which means that it's also easier to convert as well. Plus, it's consumer, so it's got a lot of ticks next to it for conversions.
Yeah, nice. Of course, B2B is quite different, and I think in B2B, how we can win with short videos, you need to film a lot of short videos. You can send all messages in one video, but when you film a lot to share value on all these videos, if you can touch your customers 7-8 times, it means like they can recognize your brand, and
No,
lead
totally.
to the sales. So
Yeah.
I have my final question, very important question for my audience, very important. So okay, what I found, that I get great results with customers who understand what I do. So if my customers understand why we need to create high quality content, why it's important to think about traffic value than getting more traffic, so we can get great results. If customers don't, I usually tell them, go to Google, YouTube, my course, other courses, just get the basic, learn how it works. If you understand the basic, you can cooperate with anyone. You can cooperate with great experts. You can outsource, hire. It doesn't matter. Just learn the basic. And also, I have students in my network who are looking for ways to learn from scratch, without any experience, knowledge, skills, just from scratch. So let's help both. You mentioned on this podcast that it's tough to start today. It's very tough, but many people have no another choice. They didn't start 20 years ago. They need to start today. So I want to ask you, if you start today without any experience, knowledge, skills, what will you do if you start completely from zero?
Okay, I love this question. What would I do in terms of what business would I do, or what sales and marketing would I
To become a person that you are today. So to become you,
do?
but you have no. So if you want to achieve what you achieved today, to get the skills, knowledge, but you
Mhm.
need to start from scratch. Probably even to improve what you have, because we all made mistakes. I made a lot of terrible
Sure.
mistakes.
So,
I can learn from them. So yeah.
likewise, I've made a lot of mistakes too. That's how we learn, isn't it? And constantly improve. Okay, so what would I do? I think what's helped me is to always be different. What everyone else does, I try and do the opposite. I always try to stand out and be memorable. I mean, for years, I hated my name because no one could say it, they couldn't spell it, and it was so different. And now I love it because it's so unique, it's so memorable. You know, there's only one Lilach Bullock in the world. And I think that's what I've tried to do. I'm always learning skills. And I think one of the things that's really, really important is it's so easy to outsource. And I'm the queen of outsourcing. I love to outsource. But I think everything I've ever outsourced, I've always had some kind of understanding. I may not be an expert in it, but I've understood how to do it, whether that's from website to content to bookkeeping, whatever it is. And I think when we run a business, it's really important to be able to understand and know how things are done so that we don't get taken advantage of, because people do take advantage of you in business. So I think that's very, very important. I think it's really, really important to focus on your numbers. So many people don't know their numbers. Don't chase the likes, the engagement. Focus on sales activities. Everything that you do, ask yourself, is this going to generate me sales? Or is this just going to make me more popular? And I think that's really, really important. I think ultimately you have to be so focused, so disciplined. You have to have a plan. You have to know what it is you want to achieve and then work backwards. And you're always going to get people who agree with you, and you're always going to get people who don't. And you've got to listen to your gut instinct. I think that's so, so important in business. And try not to compare yourself, because so much of what online is just a load of BS. And I suppose my biggest thing, and I'll give you a case study for this as well, is don't be afraid to ask. I launched my podcast, I think a year ago, 18 months ago. And I realized very quickly, oh my goodness, very expensive to run, as I'm sure you know. And I thought, let's see if I can get some podcast sponsorship. And everybody said to me, you're never going to be able to get podcast sponsorship because you've got a brand new podcast with no downloads. So I didn't listen to what everyone said. And I said, well, I'm going to try, because my motto is, if you don't ask, you don't get. And within a week, I raised 30 grand of sponsorship. And I did that purely from outreach. I put together a list of 2,500 people I wanted to reach out to, who I thought would be a good fit. I then realized, well, if I send that in an email or like a newsletter type thing, my conversion rate is going to be really low, because not everyone will receive the email. So I reached out to HubSpot to see if they'd give me a free trial. I already have HubSpot, but they have this sequence feature. And I thought if they could upgrade me for 2 weeks for a free trial to see. So I did that, and I loved it so much. The results were incredible that I then paid for it after. And yeah, so my motto is, if you don't ask, you don't get. And I would invite everybody to have that motto. Obviously, you don't want to be spammy or, too annoying, but you're never going to please everybody. And what's annoying to one person, someone else may love and be grateful for the reminder. So you've got to do that. And then the final one is to follow up. Not once, you follow up until you decide you no longer want to work with that person.
Yeah, nice. Love it. Love it. Lilach, it's a big pleasure to get on my show.
Thanks
to
you.
learn from you. I love this experience. So fun, valuable. Tell the best way how to keep learning from you, how to reach out to you, how to follow you.
Sure. So my website is www.lilachbullock.com, and that's Lilach is spelled lilac with a H, and Bullock, well, Sandra Bullock. And I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I should be on TikTok, but I'm not there really. Well, I have an account, but I'm not on it really. So yeah, come and say hi, come and connect with me. I have a ton of free resources and trainings and learnings on my blog. So yeah, I'd love to see you. Come and say hi.
Nice, guys. You can find all the links in the description below. Listen us on Apple, Google, Spotify. Thanks again. Love it. Yeah, I love this experience. You know how to share value, so I'm going to follow you. I recommend to anyone to follow Lilach Bullock on social media, to open website, to subscribe to newsletter, to everything, because you can become a much better marketer. Okay, guys, love you. See you.